Hey, how's it going? Just thinking about things. I thought a video might be the easiest format to show some more of these things that we want to learn. So today I'm going to put together a little video on vocal tuning. This is my first time using the software that I'm using, so hopefully it all works. If not, or if you have any recommendations on what you'd like to change, let me know. One little detail. I've got a program going that'll show my keystrokes in the bottom left, so down here. So if I type in like A or whatever, hit space, it'll show that all in the bottom corner. It's not perfect. It doesn't show mouse clicks or anything, but I think it'll help in showing some of the shortcuts, helping you commit those to memory. But anyways, let's get into some vocal tuning. I put together a little track, just piano and vocals, really simple. Just to kind of demonstrate this. It's already comped, already put together and ready to tune. It's not a perfect comp or a perfect take or anything, but it's good enough to demonstrate with. So let me just play a little so you can get a sense of what we're doing and what we're working with.
I have often dreamed of a far-off place where a hero's welcome will be waiting for me, where the crowds will cheer when they see my face, and a voice keeps saying, this is where I'm meant to be, and I'll be there someday. I can go the distance, and I don't care how far.
Anyways, so not a perfect take or anything, and there's some clear issues that we can work with, which will be great for us today. So let's get into it. So first we're going to click on our track, click on our region, and hit E. That'll open up our editor. And then we need to open up what's called flex mode. And it's this button right here. You can also hit Command F. So I'm going to hit Command F. It will default to flex time, but we want to do flex pitch. So you just click there, go to flex pitch. It'll think for a second. I've already opened this up before, so it went pretty fast. It'll probably go a little slower for you as it gets it ready for it. But yeah, now we have this view where we've got the keyboard on the left showing which notes it is. And we've got all of our notes here. So the lines is the actual, in this case, the voice. So we see it kind of all over the place. And this is Logic's best approximation of what we're doing with our voice. And then we've got these little boxes which represent what Logic thinks is one note. So we can click on the box. If we hold it, it'll play that note for us. If we drag it up, we can change the note. We can also drag the ends, and that will shorten or lengthen the note. So here, this is the 10 of often.
I have often dreamed.
Let's mute the piano so we can hear better what we're doing. Sometimes if you go back and forth between stuff, it'll just disappear. It might be that you're too high up on the keyboard. That's the case here. We're at C8. That's like the very top end of the keyboard. We scroll down, and here's our notes again. Cool. So yeah, there's those things I showed you, and then each note has 6 little nodes, and each one does a different thing. This first one, pitch drift, controls the first half of the note, and so if you like come in from below and you don't want that, you can fix that here. So let me just demonstrate. If I were to drag it way up,
I've often dreamed.
And then the top right button is the exact opposite of that.
Often dreamed.
Obviously, we would never want to do that. That's just the extreme. So that's really nice for just straightening out the beginning and ends. Like you scoop into a note and you don't want that, or you fall off a note too quick and you don't want it like that either. That's what those are good for. One of the big ones here is this fine pitch button in the middle. Now the number, every 50 is a new note. So if we go up to 50, it jumps up to the next note, right? So this highlighted section is on the new note. That means our note is the next pitch up. 0 is what Logic thinks is in tune. I think I'll demonstrate that a little bit more later. That's not always perfect, and it doesn't always quite sound right, which is one of the reasons why I don't recommend doing Logic's instant perfect to pitch mode that it has. You can do that. So if I hit Command A, it'll select everything. I can right click, set to perfect pitch. And that would kind of get things sort of closer, but it's going to have some issues that we'll go over in this video. So I wouldn't recommend doing it. Command Z to get rid of that. So let's look at this note for just a little bit. We're going through these, so we've got fine pitch. So let's get that to 0, get that pretty close to where we want to be. This one changes the formant. The best way I have to describe that is to just show you. It changes the way I think about it is like the shape of the note. So really high formant, it's going to sound thinner, a little bit more like feminine. And then lower is going to sound more open and more masculine. If you're going to mess with this at all, just do really subtle stuff. I'll just shift it way up just to show you.
Often
So that sounds like a chipmunk, right? We bring it down low and it's going to sound like an ogre or something. Yeah. You could do some really cool stuff with it, but in this case, for a natural sound, you're typically not going to use that at all. This one here is another one we're going to use a lot, vibrato. So this straightens thing out. So at 100%, that's our original. If we go any higher than that, it's going to make the changes more dramatic. If we bring it to 0, it's going to be a perfectly straight line. And then if we go negative, it's going to invert whatever we did. I'm not really sure why you'd want to do that, but you can mess around with it and maybe find something cool. So for this note, I want it a little bit straighter. We've got this weird dip at the beginning. We can just straighten that out like that. And then our last tool is going to be gain. This is the volume of the note. So we could bring this up,
I've often dreamed.
We wouldn't want it there, but we look at this note here and it's quite a bit softer, so we can bring it up a little bit.
Often dreamed.
Cool. And then this next note is a really good example for a lot of different things. So really, there's 2 parts of this note as I'm listening to it, right?
Dreamed.
We've got like the beginning, which is really the basis of the note, and then we've got the end, which is more of an inflection. I want to separate those, and I can do that so I can control them individually. So I'm going to hit T to open up my tool menu, and then I to go to the scissor tool. I can chop it right in half, hit TT to get back to normal, and now I can control the 2 parts separately and get it even better in tune and sounding better. So I'm going to bring this up to pitch, bring the vibrato down.
Dreamed.
Cool. So now we've got that inflection at the end, whereas the beginning is better in tune, but we've maintained the inflection. Maybe I want it slightly less extreme. But that's another good example of why I don't use Logic's built-in set to perfect pitch, because it can't do that. It wouldn't know that I want to control the 2 halves of that note separately. So let's hear what we have now. Maybe let's bring this one up to pitch a little and make it a little less extreme.
I have often dreamed.
Cool. That's already sounding way better, right? A little bit tedious, and this process is, but the more you do it, the better you'll get, the faster you'll get. Let's keep going.
Far off place where a hero's welcome will be waiting for me.
Okay. Here's another example of a note that Logic just really does not know what to do with it. Right? So we've got this at the beginning, which is really dramatic inflection.
Waiting for me.
So maybe we separate that so that we're not really affecting the inflection, not making it sound weird by changing the tuning of it, but we can affect the basis of the note. But here's another thing. Logic didn't pick up that this is actually supposed to be 2 notes. So this right here, this is supposed to be the second note.
Waiting for me.
So waiting, it didn't separate that, so we can separate that ourselves. And now when we put that in tune, this one I'm not going to do all the way because the basis of the note is right here, but it's picking up a lot from down here, so it thinks it's a little flat, whereas it's probably actually a little sharp. So I'll just kind of center the main part of the note. And then this is all over, so let's just bring the vibrato down, straighten it out a bit. Let's see how that sounds.
They'll be waiting for me.
Cool. That sounds a lot better in my opinion. Maybe not perfect still. Maybe we bring this pitch drift down to kind of scoop more cleanly into the note. Let's try that.
Will be waiting for me.
Cool. Not perfect, but a lot better. Here's another note that it didn't separate, so we'll separate it manually. Another one where it doesn't quite know where the main bulk of the pitch is, so we're going to put the main bulk of the pitch in the center. This vibrato's all over. Let's try that.
Be waiting for me.
Maybe we change the pitch drift at the end. That's not really doing what we want. We'll just bring the vibrato down more.
Waiting for me.
Cool. So that's a lot closer to where we want it to be, right? So you just kind of go through the whole thing, making these little adjustments. You can also make adjustments on multiple notes at the same time. So these two notes here may be a little quiet. Let's grab both of them. And you just pick one and bring the gain up, and it will affect both of those notes. So if you had like a whole phrase that you comped in that was quieter, you could just grab all of them at once and bring the gain up all at the same time, or vice versa. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, last thing. So if you want to put two notes together, occasionally, I don't think I have any on this one, but occasionally Logic will separate two notes that you actually want to be one note. So for that, you would grab them both, hit T for your tool menu, G to get the glue tool, and then you just click on them, and that'll bring them together. It's important to select both beforehand, because if you don't and you just try and use the glue tool, it's just not going to work. So you select both of them, glue them together. I do think you can select, oh my goodness. I think you can select both of them with the glue tool and then hit it like that. Either way, you have to select them both first. So you just go through the entire thing, listening to each note, really figuring out what you want that note to do, and then you've got the tools to make it do that. I've got an example where I already did that. Right here, I've got some hidden tracks. Ooh, secret. How fun. But here's one that I did before. It's not going to be the exact same as what I did because I'm doing it by hand. It's going to be a little bit different every time. And this has some processing. Actually, I'm going to turn off the processing just to make it more clear what we've done. Let's just listen to kind of the finished product.
I have often dreamed of a far-off place where a hero's welcome will be waiting for me.
Still have some reverb that
Where
I
the
added.
crowds will cheer when they see my face, and a voice keeps saying, "This is where I'm meant to be, and I'll be there someday. I can go the distance, and I don't care how far, if I can be strong."
Yeah, so there's just a little example. It's not a perfect comp, it's not a perfect tune, which I think is why it's important to do things and then come back and look at them, tweak them a little bit. That's how you get a really nice polished product. But I think it's enough to really show you the principles and get you started on tuning things. So let me know if you have any questions, and that's all for today. Have a good one.